Greetings from Northumberland on the 13th of November. It's the eve of Remembrance Sunday. Yesterday I became aware of a new piece of research that's been published by someone who I used to work very distantly with, a man called Stephen Hance, who is one of the directors of mission and evangelism in the Church of England and was formerly Dean of Derby. And he used to convene meetings for people like me who worked as missionaries around the country to come together, and especially for those who worked in cathedrals. I haven't yet been able to read the full piece of research. I've ordered it and will read it, but some of the headlines struck me very powerfully. He looks at the way in which people look at the Church of England, at us as Christians, because remember, most people still perceive Christianity in this country, at least in part, through the lens of the Church of England. And he says this, the church is most valued at a local level. And the further you get away from the local level, the worse the opinion people have of the church. So that's pretty tough on bishops and archbishops and the church in Westminster and all those things, because people really form their opinion of the church, although it is coloured by national things, on their encounter with church in a local level. And most people find that the church is seeking to do good, supporting food banks, encouraging people, being there when people die, and all those things. But the big gap is that people don't find the church a spiritual resource. They look at the practical things we do, and they're impressed by them. But there is a problem that when people have, if you like, emotional and then spiritual crises, the church isn't always seen as a place to go. And that is, I believe, a terrible, terrible picture. It's an indictment on us all. It's an indictment on Christian priests like me, and it's an indictment on Christian communities. And it's something that we need to challenge and to address, more to the point. Not to say it isn't true, but to say, why is it true? Many years ago, when I worked in Barnsley, there was a piece of research done about why people in the end go to church. And the amazing result was that the unique selling point for church is God. Evelyn Underhill, writing in the early part of the last century to the Archbishop of Canterbury, said, "The only interesting thing about the church is God. And if we do not follow the way of Christ and share that with others, then we are failing our purpose." This afternoon I'm going to Bamborough, just up the road, to listen to two talks about St Aidan. St Aidan transformed this part of the country, and indeed transformed the Christian scene for the whole of the north of England, for the Kingdom of Northumbria. And he did so not just because he set up a school, not because he just cared for the poor, but above all because he lived and proclaimed the word of God. And as we think about him today, and as we think about this research, let us set before us that aim of being a place where people can find truth, spiritual truth, an encounter with the living God, and an ability to live in God's love. May God bless us.